Hi, today we're going to work on multiplication sentences for arrays. Remember what we were learning with arrays? We know that this is a row. Let's count how many rows we have. We have 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows. So there are 3 rows. How many hearts are in 1 row? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 3 rows of 4. So we can write it as 3 fours. We can write it as 4 plus 4 plus 4. But we're really working on our multiplication sentences. So right here, this represents rows. How many rows did we have? We had 3 rows of 4. And we know that 3 rows of 4 hearts equal 4, 8, 12. We know that they equal 12. So the total number of hearts are 12. Let's look here where the question mark is. I want you to think about what that represents. Say it out loud. Did you say rows? Great. So let's count how many rows we have. We have 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, 5 rows. We have 5 rows. Do you remember what this means? We have 5 rows of 3 hearts. And now we're looking for the total amount of hearts. So 5 rows of 3. Let's skip count together. Say it out loud, please. Great. Did you say 15? We have a total of 15 hearts. Great. So now we're going to do another one, but I'm going to throw in some mathy words. So we know that that first one means rows, but we also call it a factor. So how many rows do we have? Let's see if we agree. 1, 2, 3. We have 3 rows, and there's our multiplication fact, but we often say 3. So we can say 3 rows of how many? Let's count. Say it out loud, please. You're right. 5. So we have 3 rows of 5. Here they go. Or we can say we have 3 times 5. We can also say that we have 3 5s. So now we're looking for the total number of smiley faces. Let's go together. Let's count 3 5s. What did you get? Say it out loud, please. Correct. It was 15 total smiley faces. Now we also call the answer of a multiplication sentence or multiplication fact, we call it a product. Let's look at these right here. Let's look at the first one. Let's figure out what the factors are going to be. We know the first one is, you're right, it's a row. So let's count how many rows we have. Correct. Say it out loud. You're right. We have 4 what? What do we have 4 of? What's in a row. Correct. We have 4 3s. Now, let's go over here. So we're looking at the next one. What's that first one represent? That first factor. You're right, the first factor represents the rows. Do you see how many rows? Correct. There are 3 rows. The second factor represents how many are in a row. Nice. Say it out loud. Good. So look here. We've got an equals fact. It's saying that 4 rows of 3 equal 3 rows of 4. Or it's also saying 4 groups of 3 equal 3 groups of 4, or 4 times 3 equals 3 times 4, right? There's all different ways of saying it, but they're saying they're equal. Well, let's look at the total number of dots in our first example. And remember, the answer, or the total, we call the fancy word of product. So let's find the product of the first one. 3, 6, 9, 12. So the product of the first one equals 12. Let's find the product of the second one. 4, 8, 12. Well, 12 definitely equals 12. Oh, I'm trying to shrink it down, but it won't let me do it. So we could put a 12 over here if we wanted to. So they call these related facts when they have the same factors, but they're kind of flip-flopped. Fabulous. So today, for your independent practice, or your must-do, where you do all the thinking, you're going to have a visual image that shows an array. Then in IXL, they're going to give you a multiplication sentence. And then there's going to be a question mark. They want you to figure out what factor would be here. Now, if you know if this is a row, then that helps. Can you think of the factor that would be there? Great. So then you would put that into IXL. Let's try one more. Now, they're going to show you another image of an array, or a representation of array, fancy words. Well, look here. They gave you the first one, the first factor, and you know that factor represents what? Great, it does. It represents the rows. Then you have your multiplication sign, and then this is missing. What does this factor represent? You're right. This factor represents the number of smiley faces in a row. And of course, right here is the answer. Now, the fancy word for answer in a multiplication fact is product. So you're going to do your IXL. You're going to do the best you can. And I know that you are going to be fabulous at it. Do you know why I know you're going to be fabulous? Because as long as you try your best and you work hard, that means you're fabulous.